Welcome everyone to Tuesday Tea Time. This might be a bit of a brief one today. For those of you who saw my announcement before tea time started, my mother died this week, and it was not altogether unexpected, but it was much sooner than anticipated. She was funny. She said, "Don't talk about my death, talk about my life." And I feel like that was very much her. So here's to life. My mom was an incredible advocate for freedom and for horses living a natural, beautiful, pure sort of life. And she instilled that in me from the time I was very young. I'm gonna miss her. I'm gonna miss her a lot. I'm sitting here in my mom's garden, and the various fruit trees and the flowers and all the things, the grapes and all the things that she planted over the years. I feel like I'm fully embraced by my mother's energy and power and strength and all those good things she brought to the world. My mom taught me to ride horses, and she taught most of my friends how to ride horses. There are many, many generations of children that learned how to ride horses because of my mother. She didn't buy school horses. She took on rescues, the horses that didn't have a home. And she was a big believer in the Montessori method, which meant that she would teach one of us, and then we would teach each other. The idea is, as soon as a student knows something, they turn around and they teach it to someone else. And so it was a great cooperative of student teachers that we had. And my mom, she loved to organize it all. She loved to be there to make sure the environment, she would always say, prepare the environment for learning, and then step back and let learning happen. And through most of my childhood, we would have between 12 and 20 horses running around, all as a great big herd on 100 acres of pasture. And the kids and I would all pile off the school bus in the afternoons, and my mom would let us stand on the bumper of the car, and she would drive far too fast. And we would hold on to the rack at the top of the car and jump up and down on the bumper at the back as she went over all the potholes in the dirt road. And then we would run out into the pastures and catch our horses. And it was always this game of, who could swing up on their horse. And if you couldn't swing up, could you talk one of your friends into giving you a leg up? And, we would catch our horses, and then we would ride them up bareback to the barn, which was just a little old sheep herder's shack from a long time ago. And we would get out our brushes, and we'd groom horses, and we'd laugh. And my mother would always have one horse going around in a circle with a vaulting saddle on. And as we were grooming horses, we would take turns pausing the grooming of our own horse and going to do a little bit of vaulting practice on the horse that she had going. She was a big believer in working on a rider's balance and feel for a horse before they held the reins. And this was something she did with kids before they held the reins, for sure, but then it was something that she did on an ongoing basis. So that before you got on your horse and you did whatever it is that you were going to do, you got a little time where you weren't holding the reins and you weren't directing the horse. You were just learning how to sit on them. You were learning how to bounce along with them and feel their stride and feel their rhythm and feel your balance and see if you could let go and see how long you could let go for, so that you didn't have to hold onto the horse. You would just ride. And then once that had been sort of built into your body and you remembered what that felt like, well, then you could go ahead and pick up your lead rope and tie it around your halter on both sides and, take your own horse out in the fields and gallop up and down the pastures with your friends and jump jumps and play in the pond, go swimming. It was a very, very free childhood that I had, with a lot of good friends, a lot of good horses. And, we didn't have well-trained horses, so we all fell off a lot. We all got bucked off a lot. And my mother, would say, you can figure it out. Hop back on. Make friends with them. You'll figure it out. And then we get thrown off again. And she'd say, that's all right. That's part of learning. Hop back on. You'll figure it out again. And there was just sort of this ethos about riding where it was fine to fall off. It was fine to get in a disagreement. It was even fine when you got thrown off far away from home and your horse galloped home without you. You'd walk back home and you'd get back on the horse and you'd make friends again and you'd try and do better. And I guess that's one of my favorite things about my mom that will always live on through her, is that feeling that life happens. You ride it, you fall off, you get back on, and then you do better. I'm really going to miss her. I'm really going to miss her incredible enthusiasm every day. But she instilled in whole generations of us this idea that you can get on and you can start again. And no matter how many times you fall off, it's okay. Just get on again and try again. It will be better next time. And if I can take that with me on into life, I think that in itself is very powerful. And I see I have some comments here. Thank you guys for joining me for tea time. It's a different week for sure. Christian, riding with your eyes closed. It was one of the things we would do. My mom would have the vaulting saddle on the horse, so you had handles if you needed them. But it was always a point of pride that maybe you could ride without touching the handles. Maybe you could put your arms out to the side and ride just like they did in the Black Stallion movie without needing to hold on at all. Yeah, Jenny, it really was an incredible legacy that my mom left. So many powerful memories. Corinne. Corinne, you were right there with us, helping us all try and do a little bit better than we did yesterday. Thank you, Nicola. I am. I really heard my mom. It's not about her death, even though that was shocking this week. It's about her life. Her life is to be celebrated. And she's an amazing force in the world still. Even though she's not here physically, she is still an amazing force in the world. And thank you. Thank you, Florentine. Thank you, Regina. Thank you, Christina. So, here's to all that came before us. We ride on the backs of giants. Is that how the saying goes? If I can pass on even a small piece of the love and the joy and the energy and the unfailable optimism that my mom had, it will be an amazing thing, and I will do my very best. Elizabeth said, I watched her teach young girls, but she was my teacher too in my 60s. She was loving and strong in her beliefs. She was a great friend to me, and I will miss her greatly. I'm right there with you, Elizabeth. She was a teacher to many of us. Yeah. So, thank you, Alexa. Thank you, Lillian. Thank you, Janet. Yeah. There's so many stories I remember she would spend hours and hours and hours with us, teaching us all how to ride with no hands so that we didn't have to pull on our horses. But then once we had that down, she was the queen of taking off at a gallop on her horse in the front and saying, "Follow me." And we would go at unbelievable speeds through the woods, over jumps, round trees. And she trusted that you knew how to duck a branch and that you knew how to lift your leg up out of the way so it didn't get squished by a tree. And she just trusted that all of us kids could do what needed to be done. And there was nothing better than a fast horse and a group of laughing children, all having an incredible time. Yeah, absolutely, Sandra. I hope that I can pass this on with, my own tilt to it, of course. I don't know that I will ever be as brave or as bold as my mother was. I will do it in my own way, in my own time. And I will share of her work what I can. I remember the very first Mustang I got. I really wanted to train so slowly and so gently. And my mother couldn't stand the idea that that Mustang would be in a small pen for very long. And she said, "You have 10 days. You have 10 days to get that horse out in the herd." And I said, "Mom, she was just wild a few days ago. And, she was rounded up by helicopter and she's here and we need time. And I want to be really gentle." And my mom said, "You can do it. You can be really gentle and you can also have her out in the big herd in 10 days. I believe in you." And I remember thinking, that's ridiculous. There's no way I can tame this wild Mustang and have her ready to go out in the big herd in 10 days without ever running her around. But it worked. I still don't know how it worked. I think in part it was because of my mother's belief it would work. And she was absolutely right. In a week, we had that first Mustang. She was a 4-year-old mare, and she was out with the other horses in the big pasture, and she was never difficult to catch. And I don't know if I ever would have been that brave without my mother saying, "You can do it. You can do it. You can be gentle, and you can also let her have freedom far sooner than you think." So I'll try and remember that. Freedom is possible and beautiful, quite possibly sooner than you ever anticipate. On that note, you guys, I am going to go ahead and end that tea time right here. I've got a lot of work to do, a lot of processing to do. I'll be back next week. Let me know if there's any topics you would like me to talk on for tea time. And we will all live on with a little piece of my mother's spirit to cheer us on. Thank you.